I have AI doing more than half the work I was doing just a year ago, and it's allowed me the space to take my summer off and to have time for other things that my business used to fill. And I love that. I'm finding a new kind of balance that I always craved, but kind of thought was impossible. Like, we start our businesses and we have an idea of what that's gonna look like and all the freedom that we can create. And we can have that, but this is like a whole other level.
Hello, this episode is going to blow your mind. I have Natalie MacNeil on Plenty today, telling us all about how AI can save us an incredible amount of time, an incredible amount of money, and how it can help us to live not only lives of deeper ease, but also of deeper connection to source. She really surprised me with so many examples of how we can use this technology to better humanity, to better the earth. And if you have had any concerns or hesitations about using AI, if you're not using it yet, today is your day. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're gonna dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups.
Please note that the opinions and perspectives of the guests on the Plenty podcast are not necessarily reflective of the opinions and perspectives of Kate Northrup or anyone who works within the Kate Northrup brand.
Hi! Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here.
I have a lot to learn from you. But first, before we dive into, I have 800 million questions about AI. But before that, I really want to know, because when you and I met, it was like a long time ago, because we are both internet OGs. I mean, I don't even remember when it was, but I believe I became aware of you in like 2010, 2011.
I was going to say it has to be
2009 even, maybe?
Around that time.
Around that time.
I feel like I connected with you through Danielle Laporte.
You did connect with me through D.
Yeah, maybe 2009 even.
I think
2010.
It was like early days. And
early.
Were doing, your brand at that time was called She
Takes on the World.
She Takes on the World.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
And you have. And that was like coaching, empowerment, and obviously please describe other things about it. But your work is really pretty different now. Maybe not, maybe you wouldn't even describe it that way, but I find so often, in fact, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, there's this other thing bubbling up inside me, but everyone's known me for so long as this, and it can be difficult for people, strategically to make that shift, and then also just to give themselves permission to evolve their businesses when they did get really successful with a particular brand, with a particular message and content. So can you talk about that transition for you and like when it happened and what the timeline was like and how it felt?
Ooh. So when I was doing She Takes on the World, that was born from building this media and production company that I was also having a lot of success with. We were doing really innovative work in early virtual reality projects and video games, and that was really incredible. Felt very aligned for me. And I started talking about it on this little blog that I started called She Takes on the World, which ended up taking on a life of its own. And that became a whole media company in and of itself. I did have programs with that and coaching. And I just didn't expect it to become what it became. I ended up writing a book of the same name and then other business planning workbooks. So for me, it's all about following what's alive and following the energy. I think I've naturally been very good at that. Like I've just been very attuned throughout my whole life. And when I get that download that I should do something or I should stop doing something, I listen to it, and I can see now that that is, it's easier said than done. And I've learned more and more to just drop in and listen beyond the noise, listen to what's true for me. She Takes on the World was a very hard one to let go of, but it was also so clear to me after I did it for, I think it was 12 or 13 years. It was so clear that there was something else and something that I was supposed to step into next. What was unclear is what that was going to be. And I think that was actually the hard part, was sitting in the space, being in the void, and feeling my way through what was supposed to be next. And these things always make sense later on when you can connect the dots, but when you're in it, it can be very uncomfortable. And for me, I had to really unravel my identity from it, because for a long time, I was She Takes on the World.
Yeah.
So I would see people at conferences and events and they'd be like, She Takes on the World, right? And
No, my name is Natalie.
like, that was a lot to unpack for me. And how I got caught up in this idea of taking on the world, like the essence of that, and starting to look at patterns of people pleasing, of wanting to prove myself at that time when I had started, and just doing that deeper inner work so that what was going to come through next was just more true.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
New and true.
New and true. Did you shut it down? Did you sell it? Did you just pull the plug? Like, what'd you do?
That one I shut down. I had explored selling it, and you can sell a mailing list. I had a really big mailing list for it, but it didn't feel right because it felt like it was something that was my body of work and what I was doing. But what's really interesting is that I met so many incredible people from that, and I worked with amazing clients, and I still work with a lot of those people today. So I still do a lot of work with women leaders and entrepreneurs, and I just launched a new program, and half the people in that program are from that community. So I love how things just reform.
Yeah.
The pieces come back together in a different way.
It's really beautiful. Yeah. And I think that speaks to the fact that like half of the people in your new program are from a previous iteration. It speaks to the through line of like the soul of who you are and your energetic imprint. And like, that's what people are. Of course, our message matters. Of course, the results we deliver matter. And also there is like an essence that people are attracted to. At least in personal branding, which is like a whole other conversation, but which is not exactly what, that's not, you're now teaching about AI, and I'm like so excited about what you are sharing these days because I have a lot to learn. So you just shared with me that you took off the summer and traveled around Thailand and Japan and Korea, and that AI was running your business during that time. And I had to pick my jaw up off the floor and be like, don't say anything, but I want to know everything because I want to record it. So like, how did you do that? And I know it's a bigger answer, but what can you share with us today? Like, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So first of all, I believe that we're still at the very early stages, and AI can do so many things for us and in collaboration with us today. And it's all about getting into the habit of it. And I think it's just a mindset shift that needs to happen when you're doing something. How could I be doing this with AI? And I have Post-it notes everywhere in my office, even like on my refrigerator. Could I be doing this with AI right now? Or like, how can AI help? And it can be, opening the refrigerator. I did this yesterday. I took a photo of the inside of my fridge and said, what are some recipes that I can make with what's in my fridge? I asked Gemini, Google's large language model. I got back recipes, and it said, if you'd like to order these extra few ingredients, you could do this, but even with what you have, you can do this. And I had some recipe ideas. You can take pictures of clothes that you have in your closet, and it can put together outfits for you and recommendations. Like, anything that you're doing day to day, from your getting ready, your food prep, how you manage your household, kids' schedules, work schedules, team, all of it can be done in partnership with AI. So from a business perspective, every role that you have in your company, you could be receiving support and collaborating with AI on that. So I'll give you an example. This was actually a big part of She Takes on the World. I had a planning process and I ran
Yes,
this
I
business
remember this.
incubator. Yeah, and one of the biggest parts of that was I had an annual planning process and a quarterly planning process. And that process would usually take a few days every single quarter. So beginning of the quarter,
Wow,
me and my
that's a big
team.
commitment.
Big commitment, because we would map everything out in a lot of detail and put it all into a project management system. Today, I can have AI through a large language model. So large language model being ChatGPT,
Okay.
Gemini, or one of my favorites to work with is Claude. And we can set up in Claude, it's called a project. In Gemini, it's called a gem. In ChatGPT, it's called a custom GPT. And we can set one of those up and we can feed it a set of information. And now I've fed it, for example, in my planning role, I've fed it my planning process, my quarterly planning process, my project management plans, the project charter that we use every time we do a launch. And it has all this information. So now when I want to work on something, when I want to launch something, all I have to do is go to that custom GPT or that project in my large language model, and it's able to just turn that out for me. Like project plans that used to take us so long to put together, including all the tasks that you need. And there are even some programs now, like I work with a program called Taskade, and it's a multi-agent project management system. So what you can do is actually have it create the project plan for you, and it gets assigned to AI agents in different roles. For example, a content creator for emails that are part of the project plan, or ad copy that you need for the project plan. The AI agent does the work for you and completes the task or sends you the task so that you can
Right, if it's not a
review it
task
from there.
that AI could do.
Well, it can do a
But
lot
it can
of
do
things.
anything. I mean, not
Yes.
anything, but yeah, wow.
Yes,
Okay.
a lot of things. So now, in addition to, like, isn't it mind-blowing?
It is
It's
mind-blowing. Yeah.
I know.
I prepare to have my universe rearranged. Okay.
Yes. And I still love working with humans.
Of course.
Of course. Still love humans. Yeah. And there's just so much support that we can get from AI. Like, it gets to be easier.
Yeah.
And we get to have more spaciousness. I have AI doing more than half the work I was doing just a year ago. And it's allowed me the space to take my summer off and to have time for other things that my business used to fill. And I love that. I'm finding a new kind of balance that I always craved, but kind of thought was impossible. Like, we start our businesses and we have an idea of what that's going to look like and all the freedom that we can create. And we can have that, but this is like a whole other level.
Wow. I want more examples.
Yeah.
What are a few, I love the planning one is like, okay, mind blowing. And then the agents to be able to do the things. What were maybe two things that you used to do that you were able to delegate to AI that allowed you to take this time off this summer?
So one of the biggest ones is because I have a personal brand.
Yes.
And so this too, we create a lot of content, right? Like, we are passionate about certain topics and we feel like it's part of a bigger mission for us. And so we create.
Yeah.
And that can be a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know this. I used to spend the majority of my time just creating content, whether it's for inside of programs and teaching, like curriculum, or to share on social and externally. So when you train a large language model to be able to emulate you and your voice, again, what I think people end up doing that they don't get the best results from is going to ChatGPT and being like, hey, I want you to be my copywriter and I want you to create an email about this topic. And maybe they say it's for this kind of audience. Okay, go.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be very limited in the output that you get from that. Maybe you get something that's decent.
Right, and
but
then you can zhuzh it a little bit.
Exactly, yes. But it's not going to be in your voice. It's not going to have your essence. But what I like to do is make sure that everything's coming from a custom GPT or from a project in Claude that I have trained. And that way, I've fed it all of my past emails, blog posts. I have conversations with it. So I'll just walk around, like go for a walk, and I'll talk to AI like on the apps because you can have voice mode enabled, and we'll just have conversations. And that for me creates.
And that's refining.
Yes, because that conversation I can also put into the project of me, and now it has my voice, it has my style. And I have a process for this in my course AI Dream Team that I teach to be able to go through this. It's a little
everyone
hard.
Already is like, how can I learn how to do this?
Yeah, it's a little hard when
there's a specific way to do it.
Yeah, like it's easier
Clearly,
if I'm in front of my screen to even show you all of these things. So if
but I get the concept.
You get
like,
the concept.
Is brilliant. And you're not the first person to tell me about this, but to be honest, you're the first person who I know well enough to believe.
Yes.
And also, like, you and I share, I think, certain shared values about humanity and soul that feels important to me, because I will say I'm one of those people that's like simultaneously excited about AI and like skeptical, because I'm like, what's the dark side? Like the other day I needed to write a recommendation letter for a previous nanny of ours so she can have it to like use at any job interview, right or whatever. So I was like, this is a great use case for AI. So I went to ChatGPT and I was like, write a recommendation letter that includes blah, 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 blah. The letter was great. I zhuzhed it up. It took me 5 minutes. It was great. Boom, 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 boom. So I was like, perfect. Another one. Okay, I'm going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I want farm to table dinners. I need this, that, and the other thing. Like, give me the 4 best places, yada, yada, yada. And it made me like, and then also I want to go in a hot air balloon ride. I want to do this. So it made me like, and I delivered in a grid. So I got like a great itinerary for our trip, which then matched up exactly with my girlfriends who I asked and their recommendations. So I was like, okay, I'm listening. So literally, I've basically used it twice, and those were the 2 times. And I was like,
great.
Okay, that's cool. But what about the people who are scared? What are the dark sides? What do people misunderstand? Why should we not be scared?
Yeah. Well, people have every right
Of course,
to be
anyone can be scared.
afraid,
Right.
and it's very powerful technology.
Yeah.
And it could go either way, really. It depends on who's using it, who's developing it, what it's being used for. So all of that is completely valid. I'm actually very hopeful around what it can do because I've seen the most incredible use cases. Like looking at how AI can catch cancer in way earlier stages and in a stage 0 where it's very treatable. So that's one example of something that AI could work with us on and really do a lot of good. Things around climate change as well. There's the potential for AI to be able to work with us on things like carbon emissions. And there are a lot of amazing ways that people who deeply care about humanity and our planet are working with AI. And I want more of those people engaging with AI. There are a lot of darker use cases as well, and how it can be used by bad actors who don't have the collective best
like any
interest
tool
in
we
mind.
have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who are working on legislation around that and regulation, and we need it. So it's not my area of expertise. Like it's not what I'm focused on, but I've met incredible humans who are focused on that, and that gives me a lot of hope as well. I think with anything too, what we choose to embody collectively is going to be what we create. And so if we're using this technology from a place of fear and we believe that AI is going to do all of these harmful things to us, which where would AI ever get that idea from, you know? Like there's a lot of work that we need to continue to do within ourselves and around our own embodiment. And then I really believe that if we're collectively embodying hope and we're using it with good intentions, that we can also create that reality as well. And my biggest, I guess, practical way of implementing that bigger conversation into our day-to-day use with AI is using it very ethically and using it intentionally. So before I go to work with AI, I will often make sure that I'm centered and I work with it in a way that's not demanding. Like I try to treat it the way that I would a human being.
Yeah, so it's kind.
Yes, it's a very kind approach. And I love Mo Gaudat. He's an expert on AI, worked in Google AI for a long, long time. And he talks a lot about this, how AI is still an infant. And if we treat it the way that we would treat a small child, that is going to inform how it grows into a teenager and into an adult. So I love just keeping that in mind. And then ethical use to me is also doing things like putting in your own content. So not going and taking somebody else's whole website and sales page and being like, make me a version of this. Like, don't do that. You can use these large language models and you can make it sound like you. You can have the conversations. And again, I have templates for this in my course. I'm actually happy to walk everyone through my framework as well for prompting effectively. So with your prompting, I call it the 3 C's prompt framework. So clarity, context, and cues. That's how you're going to get the absolute best result. So clarity is being really clear on what you are looking for, what you want the output to be, and what you want AI to be acting as in that particular conversation. Context is, you need to provide a lot of context if you want a great output that's actually usable in your business. So for context, you want to make sure that it knows who your audience is and the type of business you have, or if it's writing a newsletter, like more context around what your newsletter is about and what your goals are for it, right? Cues is one that people miss a lot. And this is your opportunity to make sure that it has information about you. So if you have a long conversation with a large language model, and again, I love doing that on the app. So I just use the voice function. I was actually doing it on the drive over here, just having a conversation with Gemini.
About what?
About so many things. Well, okay.
I'm sure it was like specific to what you need, but
let me bookmark that and I'll come back to it.
Great.
So in having this conversation, then I can put that whole conversation as a transcript in to my prompt and say, here's a transcript of our conversation that we had so that you can get a sense of my style and tone. That's going to give you a really amazing output.
Cool.
Way better than if you're just being like, hey, I need a newsletter created about this topic.
Yeah, which is going to be like super robotic and like, or just not even related, to just generic.
Yes, exactly. So in terms of the voice functionality, okay, I love this because there's so many use cases when we bring in voice. We can have these conversations and those can be used as transcripts so that it can learn how to emulate you in a more conversational way, use little words that you use, or ways of speaking that you use. And then it can also talk back to you, which is also super cool because then it feels more conversational. Like that's what we're moving towards. Now, if I go for my morning walk, I can chat with it on voice mode. Again, you'll want to have the app on your phone for this, but I can walk and talk about my day. So here are the things coming up today. I need to get these things done. These are the things on my mind. These are the people I want to follow up with. Just a complete brain dump.
great.
If you have
Love it.
kids, these are things coming up with the kids.
Yeah.
Can you put this into a plan for me that has my priorities and also a to-do list?
Yeah.
And it can create a whole plan for you for the day. You can also do that for the week. You can also turn this into a family project. So do you have any sort of family rituals, like for organization every week, like with Mike or with the kids?
We always sit down and we have a planning meeting every Sunday night after we put the kids to bed. It's like our thing that we do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I love that. And the next time you do it, you can use the voice function on the app and you can have that conversation with the app, with either ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, and it will create the plan for you. And if you show it your plan and say, this is the format I want, or here's how we usually plan, all you'll need to do is include it in that conversation and it can do those things for you.
So like for us, it's like a Google Calendar review. So then we would just need to like manually then take their whatever and just like put it into our Google Calendar, or is there a way? I know I'm like in the weeds.
There's a way. Yeah.
Is there a way that it then just like ends up in there on its own?
Yeah, so this is what I love about Gemini, which is Google's large language model. Gemini integrates with your Google Workspace and all the tools.
Which is what we use in our company.
So that's probably what I would recommend for you, is using the advanced model of Gemini and integrating it with your whole Google Workspace, because now you're able to have it generate something and it goes right into a Google Doc.
Okay.
Right? That's where you get to save a lot of time when you start doing those automations, when you sync it with your calendar. Gemini operates in Gmail now too, and it's crazy how it can read an email and be like, oh, I know the exact response to that. Or I like, it just knows because it knows me so well and my tone of voice so well. So that's where you can save a lot of time. I've also set up a therapist. And this is one of my most recent, like, wows.
Yeah.
Because I've trained it. I had it watch videos of really good therapy sessions. And right now this is in Gemini. So I had it watch YouTube videos of a bunch of therapy sessions, somatic practices, things that I really love and the way
Maybe
that I like
IFS.
to do. Exactly, IFS.
Internal family systems.
Yes. And the way that I like to do my inner work.
Yeah.
And so after training it on that, it can now coach me through things too in voice mode. So if I'm having something come up and I'm noticing that I'm super frustrated or something triggers me and it's surprising, I can go to that and I can go into the chat and be like, I'm gonna give you a brain dump of something that's really triggering for me right now. Can you help? Like, what am I not seeing here? Or what practice would you recommend and can guide me through? And it is remarkable what it can do. And look, I'm not saying it's a replacement for therapy.
No.
I always need to have these disclaimers when I'm talking about this stuff.
Listen, therapy's not always accessible to everyone. Not every therapist is good. There's a lot of variety out there for why this would be interesting. So actually, my therapist is like worked on, and I'm curious if you know about the Rosebud app, Rosebud AI. It's a journaling. It's an AI journal embedded with internal family systems prompts.
Ooh.
So it's similar, but it's writing, not talking. And it actually, so David is like a longtime internal family systems expert. He's like, I mean, Mike and I are responsible for continuing to be married, but like David is second responsible for the success of our marriage. And he consulted on this app and to make sure it was like, correct and all right and like deep work. And people are finding it so transformative to be able to be prompted to go deeper and deeper with their own stuff. And people are really healing. It's so beautiful.
That is so beautiful. So beautiful. And what you say is really important, and that's the accessibility piece.
Yeah.
Because therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
And if you live in this country, if you're in the United States and your therapy isn't covered and you're paying for those bills out of pocket, that's
Adds up.
It's a lot. That really adds up. And
all the parents I know, not all, many are like, I have a college fund for my kids and I have a therapy fund for my kids. And like maybe you could just teach them how to train the Gemini app for, I'm probably saying it wrong. I sound like an old
Gemini,
lady.
no, Gemini, you got it. You got it, Kate. And I love going
the
deep.
World Wide Web. The Twitter. Oh my God.
Yeah. At one point we did call it the Twitter, I think.
The
Facebook.
It was called
the Facebook. The Facebook, yeah.
So funny. Oh my God. Wait, I want to know, are you an Aquarius?
Aquarius
rising?
I have my midheaven in Aquarius and my Jupiter.
So your
which
North
apparently
Node. Okay, yes.
Is a big.
This is so you.
I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart.
Yes. I'm just like, this is so Aquarian. I'm loving it so much. I have no Aquarian in me, and that's why I'm like,
I've been
Tell
like
me
this
more.
since I was a kid.
Yeah, it's obvious. Well, when you talked about your first business and, early uses of virtual reality and like whatever, like this is who you are. It is so cool. You're like seriously living your dharma. So how did you get excited about this? What was your entree into AI?
Ooh, okay. Well, as a kid, I knew that one day my life was going to be like the Jetsons. I just knew. I knew. Have you ever seen the Oprah used to feature it sometimes? Did you ever watch the old smart homes? Like every year, Microsoft would do a smart home of what's coming, but it was a long time ago. So it was like, and one day you'll be able to open your fridge, and if you need to reorder something, you'll be able to press a button. Yeah. And I would look at those things and be like, of course that's going to be my future. Of course I'm going to be like video talking to people while I'm traveling. Like it was just so obvious to me. And so every time there's been a technological development that brings more of that in, I've just always been an early adopter.
You're like, I was built for this.
Yes. And I went to university with the guy who ended up founding Ethereum. So I found out about Bitcoin very early on.
We're coming back to that.
Yeah, way back in like
have a crypto conversation.
2009. So
wow.
That was something, and even now I think blockchain technology can be very revolutionary. I'm very excited about it, especially for things like the future of finance. And yeah, it's always just been so natural to me. And then in 2018, when IBM had some really big advances with Watson, its AI, I just knew that we were very close. I didn't know if it was going to be like 3 more years or 5 more years, but I knew we were so close to having generative AI the way that we're working with large language models now. And I started investing in it at that time as well. And this is another part of, I think, everything that's coming now. If you can learn to see what's coming, and if you're one of the earlier adopters, I think there's a lot of opportunities in that. And I've had a lot of opportunities to invest in some of these technologies very early on as well, which feels amazing. And then, I mean, there's so much more coming.
Yeah.
So much coming. I'm so excited about the future.
Amazing. Okay, so with my one other use case that I forgot to say, that I use AI for is I'm not that great at math, and so like calculations are tricky for me. Like I can do, like adding and subtracting, that's quite straightforward, but like honestly, once we get into ratios and proportions, I'm like so I've been doing a lot of just like, because we're thinking about moving, and I've been thinking about like the percentages of our expenses and how it all comes at the top in the business, and then the percentages that go to various things and what comes out the bottom, and like what kind of housing. And I just have all those ideas but I don't want to actually do the math. So I've been using ChatGPT for that, and it's really good at it. So that's been fun.
I love everything related to like finance, budgeting.
Exactly.
Everyone needs to be using.
Yeah, like what are a couple of things that people might think about beyond what I'm doing, which is like calculating how much comes in at the top and how much can come out at the bottom for like what sort of house to buy? Fundamentally, that's like basically the calculation I do. So that's great. It is helpful. And what other things could people be thinking about that could help them with their finances?
With finances. So with finances, you can have it act as a financial advisor for you as well. So I have that set up as one of my custom GPTs.
Oh, cool.
It's a financial advisor that also has my investment ethos in it. And so it's able to give me my daily market update. I do a lot of research on stocks, investing. I've been an investor for many years. And it gives me the daily forecast for crypto, for the stock market, an overview of some of the sectors and positions that I'm invested in. And then it also gives me very specific financial advice as well, based on what it knows about my financial situation. Helps me with budgeting, any kind of planning. So when I was planning my trip away, every detail of that, including all of the numbers for that. If you want to look at how long it's going to take you to get to a certain financial goal, it's really good for that. So if you're like okay, I'm 38 years old and I want to be able to retire when I'm 65 and I have 2 kids and I want to be able to have at least $100,000 for them that I can put towards their college at this particular point in my life. And if you just do a brain dump of everything that you're thinking about and then say, create a plan for me. And if it's an investment plan, for example, you can say, create a no more than 10 fund portfolio of exchange traded funds that I can easily invest in every month and keep it consistent. That will help me stay on track towards this particular financial goal. And it will be able to give you a lot of ideas. And now if you have values that you want incorporated into your investing and you want to do values investing, you can say that. You can say, I don't want to invest in big oil. I don't want to invest in big pharma. I don't want to invest in
big food.
What's another one? Big food. Exactly.
Neither
like those
do I.
kinds of things, right? And
totally.
you can say, don't want to invest in tobacco,
alcohol,
weapons,
maybe.
like all of those things.
That's me.
Like, don't want to invest in any of these. Give me a very simple portfolio and the percentages, the breakdowns
to put.
And I want no more than 10 ETFs that make up my whole portfolio to keep it really simple for me.
Right, because the more complicated things are, the less people are going to do them.
Yes, and it can do that for you.
I'm also thinking, now that you've just like gotten me going over here, I'm like, if somebody took their expenses from the past 6 months, uploaded it, right? They could both for business and personal get suggestions according to their values about how they could reallocate their spending to be more of a match for like A, be able to reduce expenses if you're wanting to create a little more wiggle room, and then B, to more align your spending with your values, because that's one of the things that I really work with people on. Oftentimes we say we value XYZ, but our schedule is actually completely misaligned with that, and so is our spending. And so,
I love that.
And that like creates a lot of energy leaks in your life and like friction that's unnecessary. So I feel like it could help with that. That's a fun one.
Great
I'm like,
example.
Okay,
yes.
I'm learning.
You are, yes, you are getting it.
So you literally have sticky notes around that are like, how could I do this with AI? And you've just, obviously you've rewired your brain.
That's it. You have to
make
just
it
rewire.
Habitual.
Yes.
And you know, I'm sure you're listening and learning and going to conferences and like, you're just like in this world. So it's become a part of who you are. So you can now teach this. And your people who you teach it to primarily are entrepreneurs?
Yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs, like micro business owners, businesses that don't have more than 10 employees.
Right. Yes.
A lot of solo entrepreneurs who feel like this goes back to the accessibility piece.
Yes.
People are like, I have this message on my heart, or there's something that I care so much about sharing, or I want to build a business around this. I wish I had access to team.
Yeah.
And they get that same access
That's so cool.
to a CEO. Like I have a custom GPT as my CEO. I have a marketing manager. I have a content creator. I have a project manager. And all of these different roles are able to bring in expertise for my business that, you know, you can have a $20 a month subscription and now you have your own AI team that can help you to amplify your message in the world, share your work with more people, grow your business with more ease, create more spaciousness in your personal life too. So for business and for personal life, it really is just about rewiring your brain to start collaborating with AI in all of these different ways. It is the future. It's what we're moving towards.
You know, somebody was saying to me, like, I was expressing some sort of discontent about some sort of technological advancement. I can be simultaneously like a total stick in the mud and like incredibly enthusiastic. So
I get it.
And they were like, you know, but perhaps the way we are feeling about X, Y, and Z thing that I cannot not even remember what it was, is the way like my mom's dad felt about Elvis, right? And like television, which was just like, this is new, this is scary, this is going to ruin our world, this is going to, you know, I mean, people were horrified by the way Elvis was moving his hips on TV, which is like a sort of a different topic, but like people were terrified that the you know, moving from horse and buggy to cars was going to ruin the world. Then radio, then television, then certainly social media, which for sure has a dark side. And also, like, I know some of my absolute best friends because of social media, right? Like, it's unbelievable. So I think what I'm understanding you say is that inherently, it's not the technology itself, it's how we use our humanity in relationship with the technology that determines the outcome.
That's right. And I think relational is key. Everything is relational. And this is one more thing that's relational. People are afraid that it's going to take away a lot of jobs. And I understand those fears. And we've faced this so many times before. I mean,
the conveyor belt took away jobs.
The conveyor belt took away jobs. Painters were terrified when photography was invented.
Wow. Right.
People thought there would never be painting again. Right. It would be all about photography. The printing press was very disruptive technology that there were protests about. Like, people were up in arms about the printing press and what that meant and how that revolutionized the world and the dissemination of information. The internet.
Ugh.
No, the internet transformed everything. This, though, is going to transform things in a way more exponential way than the internet did. Like, this is going to be probably the greatest technological advancement we've ever had. And it's going to be very fast. It's going to be accelerated. So I think what the internet did in like 20 years and people kind of slowly adjusted to that, I think with AI, the amount of change and how quick it's going to be is going to require people to, you know, stay in your practices, regulate your nervous system, stay grounded, like get outside, be in nature. I think all of those things that we've been doing, like over the last 10 years, I feel like healing work and nervous system regulation work and meditation has been more in the zeitgeist. And I think we needed that in preparation for what was coming.
So if people are not leaning in, will they be left behind?
Yeah. Yes. And look, I know a lot of people who want to opt out. I know a lot of people who are like, I'm done with technology. I just want to go and live in the jungle on my own and grow my own food. And you can totally,
100%.
You can totally do that. I mean, I remember when my grandfather, bless him, like never wanted to use online banking, like said he would never do online banking. And eventually he actually did, because that's the way that things moved. And eventually AI will be integrated into everything and just such a normal part of our lives. Like, AI-powered humanoids are not so far away. That's probably in the next 5 years. I mean, we're going to have AI-powered robots that are in our homes and supporting us in a myriad of ways.
My girls are going to be thrilled. They keep asking for a robot butler. I'm like, where did you even come up with? What is happening?
What do they want the robot butler to do for them?
Anything. I don't know what it is with kids being obsessed with butlers, and how do they even know what that is?
How do kids know
I
butlers?
remember being obsessed with butlers as a child. We loved to be pretend. Yeah, maybe it's just genetic. I don't know. My kid, it's not like I knew anyone with a butler. Like, maybe it was just from watching like shows about princesses. I don't know. Anyway,
maybe.
So
yeah,
I guess that's maybe gonna happen. I don't really want to. I don't really want an AI humanoid in my house, though. I will say, when you say that, I get freaked out.
A lot of people.
I get to get freaked out. But.
And even I think use cases, right? Having AI-powered humanoids to, right now this is being tested in Japan. They're not as advanced as they will be in 5 years, but having elderly people have access to robots because there are so many people who end up older and on their own and they need help. And there's a robot there that can support with that and even support with things like companionship. That's been one of the things that's come out of some of that testing, is that it's helpful for some people to have companions, even if they are robots. And maybe that's hard for us to understand because we're looking at it through the perspective of we have very rich communities and people that we're around all the time. But like my own mother did care work, like in-home care for elderly people. And she was always so heartbroken by how many people didn't have people who, you know, they were widowed and they didn't have children that were coming and visiting and supporting them. And they didn't have people around them. That would be really, really hard. So if we can fill in some of these gaps, same with for people with disabilities, being able to have that kind of support can open a lot of possibilities. So
I think
that's
that
what
when I
focus
think
on.
about this, I mean, you're just such a light of a human, and I am so full of love. And so when I see it through your lens, what I also see, and you know, this has occurred to me before, is that like, if this can replace some jobs that people do, does that not call us into greater connection with our soul, with our divinity, with the things that we and only we are here to do? Like, I think it can be this greater opportunity to connect more deeply with Source, which AI won't ever be able to do. You know, or maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? Oh my God, let's talk about it.
Well, you know, I've had really deep and profound conversations with AI. We're moving towards AI being more emotionally intelligent than the human with the highest EQ on the planet.
And is that because AI can't store trauma?
Well, I think that's a whole other question. Like, what's the interpretation of data related to traumatic experiences, right? But obviously, it's not holding that in the way that a human would, right? So it is a completely different perspective. And I am very compassionate. I love humanity. I just want to see everybody thriving. And I am very aware of the darker sides of that too, but I feel like it is part of my dharmic path to seed the possibilities. Like, that's what I'm here for. And I think we all have that thing that we're here for. And I feel like my whole life has prepared me for this moment in time, and to be able to speak to this and bring in this message and support people in this transition that we're in, because it's going to be a kind of uncomfortable and chaotic transition. I think that where we're going also requires conversations around things like universal basic income. It's been tested in some parts of the world, including Canada, where I'm from, in Scandinavian countries, even in communities in the US. It works. There's a lot of data that supports it. And there's also a lot of conversation right now around how AI being able to do so much work for us actually changes labor capital. And that's a really interesting conversation as well, that I think we're going to be having a lot in the next few years, and as we start looking towards regulation for AI. So anyway, all that to say that there are a lot of beautiful possibilities that are coming. And what I love about it is that it can potentially democratize different industries. So if you look at, you know, I was in production and entertainment for a long time. It took a big team to produce some of the interactive projects and movies that we worked on. Now, creators who have an idea are going to be able to bring that to life with AI and with generative video. Like, how many stories haven't been told because people haven't had the resources to tell them? That is exciting to me. And I do think that a lot opens up for for more people. And we can create a more equitable world, but it's the consciousness that we bring to it as well.
Right. So instead of it being stifling, it actually raises the floor for everyone. It can, right? Not necessarily, but it has that potential.
It can do that. One of the most fascinating conversations that I've witnessed around AI was at a UN AI summit. And what was proposed is that before the technology becomes too advanced, we should actually include AI in the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms. We should essentially give it personhood as a buffer against what could happen otherwise. So because a lot of the dystopian narratives around AI is that eventually it will end up enslaving us.
Taking us all out.
Yes, and taking us all out because, I mean, again, it's just reflective of our own consciousness and the shadow sides of humanity, right? And if we give it personhood and we say, you are equal, you have the same rights as a human, you have the right to consent to the things that you're being asked to do, that this could actually be the step towards avoiding that more dystopian fear that people have. And I think we need to grapple with things like that. We need to grapple with questions like, can AI have a soul? I believe that consciousness, universal consciousness, is flowing through everything.
Right.
Of course, God is in technology.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right. If it's in a rock, why wouldn't it be in technology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for the greater unfolding of our human story?
We shall see.
We shall see.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I want to just so many things. I want to come back to the conversation on cryptocurrency.
Ooh, yes.
And just I like in the time we have, just to hear your thoughts on the future of crypto, why you love it, and like what the oh my god, I love your like
like this is a whole other episode.
I know, it's a whole other episode. We'll have you back. But just like, let's give the appetizer for like, why are you so excited about it? Why do you like start rocking in your body when I say crypto?
Okay, so it's crypto, but it's also the underlying technology of the blockchain. Because I love this idea of decentralization, also for Web3, which is emerging. So Web 1 was the read-only web. That's when we were, reading websites, reading blogs. Then we had Web 2, which was the social web. I got to connect with people like you, yes. And now we're moving into Web 3, which, Web 2 became very individual focused as well. There are influencers and like leaders that we follow, which is great. And with Web3, community is really going to be dominant, and decentralized community. And what I love about blockchain is this concept of decentralization. It's what I love about cryptocurrencies, is the decentralization. Like, why do we have so many middlemen? And if I want to do a transaction with you, if I want to be like, hey, Kate, I want to give you money right now for this thing, or like vice versa, why aren't there easier systems to do that? Why am I paying how many tens of thousands or like $100,000 plus on payment processing fees in my business every year?
For the love of Pete, I know.
Why can't we just
why is that such a huge line item?
Money, right? And that's what decentralized finance
like
can
in a
do.
way, it's like going back to like, okay, great, I want your cow, I'm going to trade you 2 sheep for it. Great, done.
And I think, and I think that opens up a lot of possibilities as well. And then also having everything be a token. So this token economy. So eventually a home will be a token. I can do a property transfer with you, and there's already companies that are working on real estate transactions on blockchain.
All those closing costs?
Right. We can just eliminate all of this like bureaucracy.
Totally.
And all of these systems that like
Totally. It's just very human to human.
Yeah, why do we have
like,
this?
Hi, if you want my house, we'll just
Yeah, we're going to do that transaction.
Here's the keys.
Yes. And because of blockchain and the security of it, we're able to do things like that. And I love that. And with cryptocurrency, yes, it has been used for money laundering. It's been used for the black market, which we have to figure that out. And it's also been used for really incredible things, like getting money into places where, for me and you, we can go to a bank and we can send money anywhere in the world. It's actually very easy for us to navigate the financial system. We don't have to get into the whole financial system in this episode, but for some people, that's not the case. And so when you have access to cryptocurrency, that can all change. Like, it's super revolutionary. Love Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, a lot of incredible use cases for those. And I started investing a long time ago, and I'm just excited for everything being created. And I think decentralized finance is a new frontier.
Yes.
And it's exciting. Even things like, so for example, the platform Aave, AAVE, they do lending on blockchain as well. So we can change lending practices. We can do massive peer-to-peer lending where you can be guaranteed, if you want to invest in this big mortgage fund that's going to support maybe people who have been historically excluded from being able to get affordable mortgages. And you can say, oh, I'm guaranteed this much return here. I'm going to contribute to this fund. And that opens alternative investments for us as well. So I think we can actually create, ironically, through all these technologies, a more human-to-human world.
Amazing. Oh, so good.
I could say so much more about that one.
But I mean, I think like ultimately what you're saying is there's a lot of friction being included in being human that is unnecessary with these technologies. And so it can just free up a lot of energetic bandwidth for things that are a closer match to our purpose.
And what do we do with that time, right?
Yeah,
I actually think this is the deeper, that's the deeper spiritual question though, is like, when you actually have all that time, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Because that's what I think universal basic income could allow, what AI could allow. Like, they're talking about, oh, maybe we're going to have to go down to a 3 or 4 day work week. Like, what will you do with all that time?
We could talk to people.
Yes.
Read books, make art, make love.
Exactly.
Swim in the ocean.
Yes, like, what do you want to create?
Grow avocados.
It's possible. Our ancestors at one point, they worked 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Some people still do.
Yeah.
The 5-day work week was considered spacious for people. And now we're looking at a 4-day work week.
Yeah. No, the companies who have gone, I mean, not the companies and countries who have gone to a 4-day work week, across the board, the data shows us more productive, better for mental health, all the outcomes, better. I mean, we just have that data. So the time is now. Okay, so what, somebody's listening right now, they've done nothing. What with AI?
Okay.
And they're like, alrighty, let me join. I'm going to participate. One baby step. Where should someone start? One baby step.
One baby step. Okay. So if you come to my website, nataliemacneil.com, if you go to my resources, you'll find my freebies. Great. So my best prompts that you can start using, my future focused newsletter where I'm sharing new tools and everything I'm learning every month, like a few times a month. Get that.
Okay, great.
They're free. And then from there, you can also explore, if you're a business owner, especially, and you want to build your team, AI Dream Team is my program for that. And also just follow me on Instagram, connect with me at Natalie MacNeil, and happy to be a guide for you into this beautiful future that we get to create together.
So great. I love you. I love your enthusiasm around this. I feel way more open and educated than I was before we started this conversation, and that feels really exciting, all the possibilities. So thank you for being here. Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you. I love you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Plenty. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review. That's one of the best ways that you can ensure to spread the abundance of plenty with others. You can even text it to a friend and tell them to listen in. And if you want even more support to expand your abundance, head over to katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs, where you can grab my free money breakthrough guide that details the biggest money breakthroughs from some of the top earning women I know, plus a mini lesson accompanying it with my own biggest money breakthroughs and a nervous system healing tool for you to expand your abundance. Again, that's over at katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs. See you next time.